Good evening, folks, and welcome to N3 Primetime. I'm Angie, here to fire up your night with stories that matter to you. Stories that cut through the noise, brought to you straight, no chaser, by Gary. First up, we are looking at Politifact's dramatic lean. A deep dive reveals a startling bias against the GOP. Shocked? Gary's got the scoop. Then we're exposing NPR's turn from trusted news source to activist arm against Trump. The details, Yuri Berliner spills it all. And folks, is the economy as rosy as they paint it? Janet Yellen says yes, but American families are telling us a different story. Plus, Trump's latest ad hits home, questioning, are you better off? It's viral, it's vocal, and it's a wake-up call. And for a lighter taste, Trump's Chick-fil-A run is more than just about milkshakes. It's a political statement served up with a side of controversy. But wait, there is more. Ever heard of the dot-com bubble? Gary's drawing lines in today's market, and it's a conversation you can't afford to miss. And hey, don't go anywhere, because later we're diving into your thoughts in our comment section segment. Plus, our Looking at You segment shines the spotlight on a mover and shaker you need to know about. So grab your popcorn, because N3 Primetime starts now.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Gary Franchi, and if you're seeking clarity in these turbulent times, you've come to the right place. Tonight we've got stories that not only matter, but define what's at stake for the American people. Starting off, we are pulling back the curtain on Politifact's undeniable bias. It's not just a theory, it is a reality that questions the very foundations of independent fact-checking. Next, we dive deep into the heart of NPR, revealing a disturbing shift from unbiased reporting to outright activism. This isn't just about one network, it's about the integrity of our taxpayer-funded media. But then there's more. We've got a hard look at the disconnect between the rosy economic picture painted by officials and the grim reality Americans face every day: skyrocketing inflation, a struggling job market, and it's a far cry from the prosperity that we were promised. And as the political landscape heats up, we analyze Trump's latest campaign ad and his surprise visit to Chick-fil-A, both stirring the pot in a nation already deeply divided. Now, these stories aren't just headlines, they're a reflection of a country at a crossroads. But let me draw this analogy. It ties it all together, just like the indispensable support that keeps our mission alive despite the challenges. Imagine, if you will, a lighthouse standing firm amidst a raging storm. That's us, a beacon of truth when waves of bias and censorship threaten to engulf us. Our commitment to sharing the unvarnished truth has never wavered, but today that beacon is at risk of being extinguished. Just as our channel has been a steadfast guardian of truth, we now find ourselves in a battle for survival, facing demonetization and dismissal. But here is the thing. It's not just about keeping the lights on. It's about fighting for the soul of America, ensuring that your voice, the voice of truth and freedom, continues to be heard. So we're not just asking you for your support right now. We are calling on you, our fellow patriots, to join us in this critical moment. Every donation at the action links in the description, every prayer and shared message helps keep the flame of truth burning bright. Together, we can weather the storm. Now I'm going to toss it over to Angie. What stories are you covering tonight?
First up, I'm diving into the world of top golfer Scotty Scheffler and how he's navigating the pressures of his sport with faith as his compass. It's a story about the man behind the trophies, reminding us all that success isn't just about what you achieve, but who you are along the way. Then we're switching gears to the courtroom drama surrounding President Trump. With Michael Avenatti weighing in from behind bars, we explore the complexities of finding fairness in the justice system. It's a tale of legal battle and the search for an unbiased jury, setting the stage for what promises to be a historical trial. And if that's not enough, we've got an exclusive on Boeing's 787 Dreamliner. Claims of potential safety risks have emerged, putting the spotlight on the aviation giant's manufacturing practices. With the FAA stepping in and a Senate hearing on the horizon, we're asking the tough questions about the integrity of our skies. But wait, there's more. Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton are here to set the record straight, talking on the rumor mill with a story of love and truth. And lastly, Zendaya opens up about the highs and lows of fame, sharing a candid look at the personal cost of a life in the limelight. Why do these stories matter? Because they touch on faith, fairness, safety, truth, and the personal struggles behind public figures. They're about the values that define us and the challenges that test them. Now let's kick things off with Gary and the first special report of the night. Over to you, Gary.
Welcome to this special report where we will be exposing the shocking truth about one of America's most trusted fact-checking organizations, Politifact. Long considered a bastion of impartiality, has been caught red-handed by the watchful eyes at newsbusters. Their meticulous analysis has uncovered a disturbing pattern of bias that favors, guess, the Democrat Party, while relentlessly targeting Republicans with far greater scrutiny and harsher ratings. And the numbers don't lie, and the disparity is nothing short of alarming, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. As we peel back the layers of this scandal, you'll see how Politifact's so-called truthometer has been systematically tilted to the left, calling into question the very foundation of their credibility. So stay tuned, because you don't want to miss a single moment of this explosive expose, especially my final thought that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about fact-checking in America. Now, just as Politifact claims to be an unbiased arbiter of truth, but has been exposed for its Democrat Party tilt, America's critical metals industry is facing a similar crisis of independence. Despite nickel being a vital component in our economy, we rely entirely on imports, with the majority sourced from Indonesia using environmentally damaging methods and bolstered by Chinese investments. Now, this threatens our goals and exposes us to potential supply disruptions. However, companies like Alaska Energy Metals, they are working to establish domestic nickel production using responsible mining practices. To support American critical metals independence and to learn more about their progress, visit alaskaenergymetals.com or simply tap more below this video. Now let's dive into the heart of the matter in a video posted on their website. Tim Graham, executive editor of Newsbusters, laid bare the undeniable evidence of Politifact's bias. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Tim Graham, executive editor of Newsbusters. Remember that old Stephen Colbert joke about how reality has a liberal bias? That seems to be the operating principle at Politifact. In January, I was looking at the way that they targeted Republicans versus Democrats, and I found that there were 20 fact checks of Republicans and only one fact check of a Democrat, President Biden. So I started looking at how they checked named politicians. Well, over the last 3 months, it's really a remarkable pattern, and that is that the Republicans that were tagged were described as mostly false, or pants on fire, more than 75% of the time. Now, if you compare that to the Democrats, I mean, not only there are a lot less fact checks, but they're tagged as mostly false, or pants on fire about 26% of the time. That's a dramatic tilt in favor of the Democratic Party. This is a pattern we've seen over the years at Politifact. We went back in 2012 when Ted Cruz and Elizabeth Warren ran for the Senate. They were all over Ted Cruz. They didn't do a single fact check for Elizabeth Warren. They have a dramatic Democratic bias. That's why we watch it. That's why you need to be a little bit suspicious of fact checkers. It doesn't mean being hostile to facts. It just means being aware of the spin and the Democrat messaging of the so-called independent fact checkers. We have a fact-checking the fact checkers page at Newsbusters. Come look at it at Newsbusters. It's what we do here.
I love those guys. So the next time somebody drops a Politifact on one of your Facebook posts or Twitter posts, just remind them that they are in fact a biased organization. Now, Graham pointed out that in January alone, Politifact targeted Republicans with 20 fact checks while only subjecting Democrats to a single fact check, which happened to be President Biden. But it gets worse. Over the past 3 months, Graham discovered a remarkable pattern in the way Politifact describes politicians. Republicans are labeled as mostly false, or pants on fire, a staggering 75% of the time. In contrast, Democrats receive such damning labels a mere 26% of the time. Now, the discrepancy is not just a fluke, it's a clear indication of Politifact's unwavering allegiance to the Democrat Party. Now, this is not the first time Politifact has shown its true colors. Back in 2012, when Ted Cruz and Elizabeth Warren were running for the Senate, Politifact relentlessly scrutinized Cruz while giving Warren a free pass, not conducting a single fact check on her. It's a recurring theme that leaves no doubt about their political leanings. Now, a comprehensive Newsbusters analysis of Politifact articles from the first quarter of 2024 further corroborates the bias Out of 63 fact checks on Republicans, a whopping 74.6% rated mostly false, false, or pants on fire. In March alone, the disparity was even more pronounced, with 15 fact checks on the false side and only 1 on the true side for Republicans. Democrats, on the other hand, received a much more lenient treatment. Out of 39 fact checks, 56.4% were rated true or mostly true, while only 25.6% fell into the mostly false, false, or pants on fire category. Now, the bias becomes even more evident when examining the fact checks of individual politicians. Donald Trump was subjected to 18 fact checks, with none on the true side, only half true, and the remaining 17 rated mostly false or worse, including 4 pants on fire rulings. In contrast, Joe Biden was checked 12 times, with the dominant ruling being half true, 50%. And Biden has never received a single pants on fire rating from Politifact throughout his entire political career. Now, Politifact's bias extends beyond politicians targeting conservative opinion leaders with unrelenting ferocity. In the first quarter of 2024, all 9 fact checks on conservative figures like Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, and Sean Hannity were rated as false. No liberal opinion leaders were subjected to such scrutiny during the same period. So if you got value from this report, tap subscribe. It's time for my final thought. Now, in the world of fact-checking, the evidence is clear and the implications are deeply troubling. Politifact, an organization that claims to be a beacon of truth and impartiality, has been exposed as nothing more than a mouthpiece for the Democrat Party. Their blatant bias and selective fact-checking have eroded the trust of the American people who rely on these institutions to navigate the complex world of politics and media. But this isn't just about Politifact, it's about the larger issue of media bias and the way it shapes public opinion. When trusted sources like fact-checkers abandon their principles and become tools of partisan propaganda, it undermines the very foundation of our republic. So it's up to us, the American people, to demand better, to hold these organizations accountable like we're doing here and like Newsbusters is, and to seek out the truth for ourselves. Only then can we hope to have an informed electorate and a government that truly represents our interests. Next up, Scotty Scheffler shares how faith, not golf, shapes his identity and guides him through pressures and successes. Angie has more.
Top golfer Scotty Scheffler professed his Christian faith as a defining feature amid the pressures of his sport. At a recent press conference, he explored golf's demands but clarified that his career does not encapsulate his identity. Instead, he leans on faith. This candidness reveals the real person behind Scheffler's professional image. His commitment to being a role model by sharing his faith is admirable. From tackling the 2020 Masters challenges to handling anxiety, he attributes his journey to success to his faith, giving him a sense of purpose, reminding us that our true worth is measured by our values, no matter how successful our careers become. Don't miss Gary's new ebook, The Silent Coup, link in the bio. Up next, Yuri Berliner's whistleblower interview exposes NPR's anti-Trump bias, challenging its objectivity in political reporting.
In a stunning turn of events, a senior editor from one of America's most liberal mainstream media outlets has come forward as a whistleblower exposing the network's pervasive anti-Trump bias and activist agenda. Yuri Berliner, a 25-year veteran of National Public Radio, has blown the whistle on the taxpayer-funded organization's shocking transformation from objective journalism to partisan activism, and now Congress is reacting. In this explosive report, we'll dive deep into Berliner's revelations, which shed light on NPR's relentless efforts to undermine President Trump and push debunked Russia collusion narratives and deliberately ignore the Hunter Biden laptop scandal to protect Joe Biden during the 2020 election. You won't believe the extent of the fake news and bias that Berliner exposes within NPR's own ranks. So stay tuned for this eye-opening expose that reveals the truth behind the media's troubling shift and the implications for American journalism in an era of deepening political divisions. Now, in an era where government agencies like the IRS and the VA are arming themselves, it's crucial to stay informed and resilient. Just as NPR's whistleblower exposed the network's bias, we must shed light on the FDA and WADA's efforts to restrict access to turkesterone, a natural supplement that supports health and strength. Black Forest Supplements is offering a special deal. Buy 2 bottles of turkesterone and get 1 free. This limited offer allows you to stock up on a supplement that promotes well-being in the face of increasing control. Visit blackforestsupplements.com/news today to take advantage of this opportunity. Just like Yuri Berliner, stood up against NPR's bias. We must stand together to maintain our health and autonomy in these challenging times. You'll find the links in the description. Now, Yuri Berliner, a senior editor at National Public Radio, has come forward as a whistleblower, exposing the government-funded network's pervasive bias and concerted efforts against former President Donald Trump. In a revealing conversation with Barry Weiss on her podcast, The Honestly Pod, Berliner shed light on NPR's transformation into a knee-jerk, activist, and scolding newsroom with a rigidly progressive agenda. Now, Berliner, who had worked at NPR for 25 years and continues to do so, noted a significant shift in the organization's approach during the Trump administration. He stated that NPR, like many legacy media outlets, was shocked and distraught by Trump's victory in 2016, as they had assumed Hillary Clinton would win. This revelation, according to Berliner, exposed NPR's disconnect from the American people and their concerns. Now, in a striking admission, Berliner revealed how NPR's newsroom was overtaken by Trump derangement syndrome after the 2016 election. He explained how the media uncritically pushed the baseless Russia collusion theory in an effort to damage President Trump. So let's take a look at what he had to say. Watch.
Everyone knew that NPR had a liberal bent. It was like saying these days, like Fox has a conservative bent. That was obvious to anyone. But you argue that it's really gone from having a liberal bent or a liberal shading to really a bias. Here's one thing you write in your essay. You write, for the majority of your time at NPR, despite the liberal bend, an open-minded, curious culture prevailed. We were nerdy, but not knee-jerk, activist, or scolding. Ori, when did that start to change? When did the thing that everyone sort of recognized as sort of a liberal bias start to shift into something harder than that, into what you call a knee-jerk, activist, and even scolding quality?
Well, I think it was cumulative. I don't think it was one event. I mean, I think part of it was Trump's election. I think like every newsroom, every legacy media newsroom, we were shocked, disturbed, distraught, really troubled. We assumed Hillary Clinton was going to win, and she didn't. And it was really an unsettling experience. But I also think, to me, it revealed that we didn't really understand a lot of what was going on in America, that we were out of touch. But I think also we kind of locked down after a while. I think after a while we started covering Trump in a way that like a lot of legacy news organizations, that we were trying to damage his presidency, to even find anything we could to harm him. And I think what we latched on to was Russia collusion, like a lot of news organizations, which was, as I write, sort of catnip, although it was just rumors and a lot of it based on pretty shoddy documents or evidence. It wasn't really solid, but I think it was compelling. And for us, I think a lot of newspapers, use documents or anonymous sources. We really latched on to Adam Schiff. He was like our muse to the Trump collusion story. We had him on constantly, a lot. I think I counted 25 times. And in most of those conversations, he sort of alluded to evidence he may have had, or sort of teased out, Russia, he was colluding, or the campaign was colluding with Russia. And then the Mueller report came out, and no collusion. And, I think we sort of the story kind of disappeared. But to me, that was like a time for like, what went wrong? Why did we miss this? Like, despite our feelings about Trump, this is a story we should have sort of treated differently.
You think? Now, Berliner criticized NPR's reliance on dubious sources and narratives, including frequent collaboration with individuals like Adam Schiff, whose claims of collusion were later debunked by the Mueller report. Despite the lack of evidence, NPR persisted in highlighting these allegations throughout Trump's presidency. Now, the senior editor's critique also extended to NPR's handling of the Hunter Biden laptop story, which the network largely ignored, citing concerns about inadvertently benefiting Trump. This decision, Berliner argued, reflected a broader pattern of bias and a shift in NPR's workplace culture, where identity and race have taken precedence over journalistic integrity. In his essay, I've been at NPR for 25 years, Here's How We Lost America's Trust, he provided additional insight into NPR's choice to ignore the Hunter Biden laptop story just weeks before the 2020 presidential election. He explained that despite the laptop's newsworthiness, NPR's natural journalistic desire to pursue a compelling lead was being suppressed. He recounted a meeting where we heard one of NPR's most respected and impartial journalists express satisfaction over the decision not to cover the laptop story as it might have benefited Trump's campaign. Now, his revelations paint a disturbing picture of a media organization that's abandoned its commitment to objective journalism in favor of partisan activism. In that exclusive interview with Barry Weiss, he spoke about the shift that he witnessed at NPR, with journalists increasingly prioritizing their personal sense of justice over fairness and objectivity. Take a look.
I came up under old school journalistic rules. You don't donate to campaigns. You don't march on behalf of political causes. A lot of the journalists I looked up to have never voted in an election because they understand that we are subjective people, that we all have our biases, but they want to maintain as much objectivity as possible. And I was looking at Instagram stories the other night, and I noticed a writer that I always read in the New Yorker, with her baby at a anti-Israel protest, waving a Palestinian flag. And I'm like, wow, like that's just going to color the way that I read her stories, seeing that. And, that has just become something that is now extremely normative among legacy journalists. And it's a shift that I think is actually like quite profound.
I totally agree. I mean, I think that there are a lot of journalists now who feel like they are obligated to do stories that are aligned with their sense of justice, or to try and undo power structures. And if that means forgetting about the traditional values of fairness or objectivity, so be it, as long as the objective is to change the world in the way that these journalists want. To me, I think the idea, I'm probably an old-fashioned fuddy-duddy, but what we do in journalism is we have our opinions and we have our outlook, but we try and park them to the side. That's basically the starting place for the job. I mean, I think of Sebastian Junger, a great quote about journalism. He said, genuine journalists are willing to destroy their opinions with facts. And I think we see the opposite now often, is that opinions push the story, and that facts are ignored if they're inconvenient or they undermine the narrative.
Wow. Now, the senior editor also discussed how the death of George Floyd in 2020 sparked an activist rather than journalistic response within the NPR newsroom. He noted that instead of using the event as a starting point for objective reporting, NPR set a tone that aligned with a specific narrative. Let's see what he had to say about this.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about how things heated up at NPR following the killing of George Floyd. And you write this. You write that NPR's former CEO, a guy called John Lansing, encouraged sort of an activist mentality in the newsroom. He wrote this in a note to staff. When it comes to identifying and ending systemic racism, we can be agents of change. Listening and deep reflection are necessary, but they're not enough. They must be followed by constructive and meaningful steps forward. I will hold myself accountable for this. Now, lots of CEOs, not just at news organizations, but lots of corporate CEOs were putting out very similar statements at the time. Some went even further than Lansing does in that note. But tell me about why you decided to include that in the essay, and why that kind of statement from the head of a news organization, especially like NPR, surprised you.
Look, it's understandable. These are incredibly painful, awful times, and the murder was horrific. And it was understandable, I think, that he would have that perspective expression. But ultimately, when you look back on it, it's a pretty big thing to say that America is infected with systemic racism. That's a big deal to say that, and I think it would have been the right time to investigate that. To what extent is America infected with systemic racism, whether it's in housing or law enforcement or education? This, that would be a great starting point for reporting, looking for evidence, figuring out, is this true? Is it not true? Is it to what extent? But I think sort of a tone had been set instead.
Now, as whistleblowing has shed light on the growing challenges facing journalism in an era marked by deep political divisions, as NPR grapples with its declining ratings, low levels of trust, and an increasingly less diverse audience, The future of the organization appears uncertain. In his essay, he concluded by emphasizing the need for a public institution where stories are told and viewpoints are exchanged in good faith. He argued that while defunding NPR is not the answer, the network must address its missteps and biases from within, starting with the basic building blocks of journalism. And following Berliner's reflections on the importance of a public institution that genuinely promotes diverse narratives and good faith dialogue, the debate about National Public Radio takes center stage. Representative Doug LaMalfa's fiery speech on the House floor captures the intensity of the discussion, highlighting a stark discrepancy within NPR's editorial team. 87 registered Democrats, no Republicans. LaMalfa raises alarming questions about the network's impartiality given its substantial public funding. And his critique extends beyond mere numbers, delving into NPR's treatment of significant political and societal events, accusing the media outlet of perpetuating bias and neglecting journalistic integrity. Watch this from the House floor earlier today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, in the D.C. newsroom for National Public Radio, which is the central hub for NPR's coverage of politics and news, it just came out that they have amongst their staff 87 registered Democrats in their editorial positions and 0 Republicans. 87 to 0. Now, Joe DiMaggio's hitting streak was amazing at 56 games in a row. Pete Rose in the 70s at 44 games in a row. 87 to 0. Now, I suppose, should it matter what the political makeup of people are in these positions? You know, not really, I guess, in a real sense. We're not talking reality in Washington, D.C., are we? We're not talking about a non-biased media that covers this place, that covers what politicians do, and the slant that people are going to hear it when they're out there in their cars, their homes, or wherever, picking this up in the various forms of media. So what do we know about NPR? It receives funding from the taxpayer and tries at the same time to be claiming to be objective. It receives it via the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which the CPB, receives about $525 million of taxpayer dollars. About 50% of their funding. The other half comes from corporate donations, the same corporations that Democrats love to say evil things about, but oftentimes these days are doing bad things. So it's pretty hard to figure out where they're coming from. But what we've seen in recent years in reporting is a strong bias against Republicans and conservatives coming out of NPR, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, when they cover the political front here. The bias against anything that's not a far-left view is clear. In fact, the bias of NPR is so clear that even a left-leaning editor in their organization, is where this came out, is raising alarm about the clear and consistent bias. This person is very concerned about it and is now being dismissed. NPR has already issued many statements and articles dismissing the critique, including this morning, without any admission by NPR or acknowledgement of any wrongdoing or bias, and certainly they have no intent to reform or even reflect upon what this looks like and sounds like. Let us remember that NPR embraced the Russiagate conspiracy theory without question, and they dismissed the Hunter Biden laptop story without proper scrutiny. All these things have been proven otherwise, haven't they? They also have NPR actively working to dismiss and attack information about the true origins of the COVID-19 virus, as well as the early treatments could have probably saved and helped many lives when they dismissed ivermectin and other forms, instead calling it horse paste, when as recently as 2015 it won a Nobel Prize for the amazing work they did with ivermectin. In the last decade, NPR's own audience has shrunk and become more intensely left-wing, gradually pushing out conservative listeners with nonstop ideological programming, bias in reporting, and injecting far-left ideas into previously non-political programs. So it's not just that quirky little radio station you hear in a musty bookstore or at a used record store or something like that. It's taken a really hard twist to the left. They claim to be neutral in a public platform to consider all things and consider all perspectives, but unfortunately it isn't that way anymore. They're desperately burning up their own credibility to try and keep up with the demands of the far left in its ranks that continue to shift farther and farther left. That's what this person on their organization came out and said. For 25 years, they have lost the American people with this shift. Pretty sad. So perhaps instead of calling it National Public Radio, it should be called National Progressive Radio, the term Democrats on the far left use for themselves. Though I've never really seen where the word progress fits in with some of the programs and ideals coming from the so-called progressives. NPR being funded by taxpayer dollars is a serious betrayal of the public trust. The American taxpayer should no longer be subsidizing this propaganda, which fails to even pretend to be unbiased anymore and is appealing to a smaller and smaller group of people, unfortunately. Too bad, because the idealism of it years ago it was created looked a heck of a lot different and was indeed something everybody could find enjoyment in. I yield back.
NPR's top news executive Edith Chapin defended the network's journalism and commitment to diversity in response to criticism from their senior editor. Chapin rejected Berliner's assessment, emphasizing the importance of inclusion in staff, sourcing, and coverage, and she encouraged vigorous newsroom discussions to best serve the public interest. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. Folks, the revelation that a senior editor from NPR, one of America's most liberal mainstream media outlets, has come forward as a whistleblower is nothing short of groundbreaking. Yuri Berliner's decision to expose his own network's virulent anti-Trump bias and activist agenda takes immense courage and integrity. And he didn't hold anything back, revealing the depths to which NPR sank in their efforts to undermine President Trump and push false narratives. This is a moment of truth for American journalism, and it's about time someone from the mainstream media had the guts to stand up and speak the truth. Berliner's whistleblowing is a wake-up call for all of us, reminding us that we must remain vigilant in our pursuit of honest, objective reporting. In an era of fake news and partisan activism masquerading as journalism, it's reassuring to know that there are still some journalists out there with some integrity. Next up, Michael Avenatti from prison questions the fairness of Trump's trial location. Can justice prevail amid the bias? Angie has the details.
In an unexpected twist, MSNBC turns to imprisoned felon Michael Avenatti for analysis on the forthcoming trial of ex-President Trump in Manhattan. Despite serving time for his own crimes, Avenatti shares concerns over potential bias in Trump's defense, suggesting a trial location such as Mississippi or Alabama might yield different results. He questions if Trump can find fairness in a New York courtroom. As the countdown to Trump's trial and potential judgment of his 34 felony charges begins, we ask, can justice be achieved or will bias cloud the outcome? Get insight from those in the thick of the legal battle. Don't miss Gary's new ebook, The Silent Coup, link in the bio. Up next, Gary contrasts Secretary Yellen's economic optimism with the harsh realities of American families. What's the real economic truth?
And now we're exposing the shocking disconnect between Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's economic delusions and the harsh realities faced by average American families. As Yellen claims that your finances are quite strong, a poll reveals that most of you believe you were better off under President Trump's economy. And the truth is, families across the nation are drowning in debt, struggling to survive amid skyrocketing inflation and the daily battle to make ends meet. Yellen's words ring hollow in the face of overwhelming evidence, and we're here to uncover the truth behind the Biden administration's failed economic policies and the devastating impact they have on you, the American people. So stay tuned for my final thought on this critical issue and what it means for the future of our nation. You don't want to miss it. Now, folks, before we dive into our special report, let's talk about how you can protect your finances in these uncertain times. Just like how Yellen's words don't align with the reality of the average American's financial struggles, store-bought supplements often fall short in delivering the protection your body needs. That is where Get the Tea comes in. Their unique variety of supplements and herbal cleansing teas help you battle the destructive elements in our environment and support your overall health. My personal favorite is their flagship product, the tea itself. I have a monthly subscription, so I never run out. And trust me when I say this stuff works. So go to getthetea.com and use the code NEXTNEWS for an exclusive 10% off of your order for Next News viewers only. Now, amid the ominous shadows of inflation and skyrocketing costs, the average American family huddles around the kitchen table, poring over bills and struggling to reconcile the cold, hard realities of their bank account with the rosy outlook presented by Secretary Janet Yellen. Day by day, they're watching their dreams of financial security get drowned in a sea of red. Yellen, from her ivory tower, whispers assurances that household finances are quite strong. But her words fall on deaf ears as families grapple with empty refrigerators and record-high gas prices. Listen to this.
I believe inflation will continue to come down.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just wondering if the economy continues to hold up no matter what happens on the Fed.
I think we've got a good, strong economy. We've got very strong domestic demand. Consumers are holding up. Some low-income consumers are perhaps exhausting their buffers of saving that they built up during the pandemic. We're seeing a little bit more distress at the household level there. But generally, households are in very good financial shape. Our financial system is generally quite strong. Things can always happen. There's always recession risk. Geopolitical developments could create risk to our economy. But I think we've got a good, strong economy that's on a solid track.
As Yellen claims that inflation will continue to come down and that we have a good, strong economy, the lived experiences of everyday Americans paints a starkly different picture. Lower-income families, who Yellen concedes might be close to exhausting their savings buffers, are just the tip of the iceberg. The economic hardships faced by Americans across the income spectrum are far from the very good financial shape that she describes. Recent polls compiled by the Brookings Institution in late March show that nearly across the board, Americans don't believe the Biden economy has done them any favors. A New York Times poll revealed that just 26% of Americans see economic conditions as excellent or good, while a staggering 51% describe conditions as poor. An Economist YouGov survey found that only 21% of voters believe the economy is getting better, while 52% say it's getting worse. Despite the most damning was perhaps from CBS. Their poll asked voters to directly compare Biden's economy to Trump's. A mere 38% rated Biden's economy as good, compared to an overwhelming 65% who said Trump's economy was good. So the numbers don't lie. They expose the vast disconnect between Yellen's optimistic assertions and the harsh realities faced by the American people. As families barely manage to keep their heads above the rising tide of costs, Yellen's comments feel like empty reassurances to a populace that's being steadily crushed under the weight of the staggering economy. And the gulf between the lived experiences of everyday Americans and the sunny optimism of our government officials is painfully evident. As long as that gulf exists, the resounding chorus of struggling families will continue to echo across the nation. Everything is not fine. The people who clutch their wallets tighter, who skip meals so their children don't have to, who are drowning in the relentless wave of rising costs, they believe that their finances are anything but fine. They're struggling, they're afraid, and they are desperate for change. Yellen's comments feel like a slap in the face of these hardworking Americans, a testament to the administration's ignorance of the real issues facing our nation. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. As we come to the end of this special report, it's clear that the divide between the economic reality faced by average Americans and the optimistic rhetoric of Secretary Yellen is not just vast, but downright insulting. The American people are not fooled by empty reassurances. They are living the consequences of failed economic policies every single day. It's time for our government officials to step out of their ivory towers and face the truth. The Biden economy is failing the American people, and no amount of sugarcoating can change that fact. We need real solutions, not platitudes. We need leadership that listens to the voices of the struggling, not dismisses them. As a republic, we must demand accountability from our elected officials and fight for the economic security that every American deserves. The future of our nation depends on it. Wow. Up next, the FAA now probing Boeing engineers' claims about 787 Dreamliner risks amidst intense scrutiny over Boeing's manufacturing practices. Angie has more details.
The FAA is currently investigating a claim by Boeing engineer Sam Salahpour about potential risks with the 787 Dreamliner's fuselage. Salahpour alleges that changes in the assembling process could lead to the parts breaking apart after extensive use. Despite these concerns, Boeing maintains there's no immediate safety issue, with spokesman Paul Lewis stating extensive testing has been conducted, emphasizing no impact on the airframe's durability or safety. Meanwhile, Boeing faces intense scrutiny over its manufacturing practices, highlighted by a recent incident involving a 737 MAX and ongoing criminal investigations. Solapor's claims are set to be discussed in a Senate hearing led by Senator Richard Blumenthal, who's criticized Boeing's safety culture. Don't miss Gary's new ebook, The Silent Coup, link in the bio. Coming up, we dive into Trump's viral campaign ad questioning Americans' well-being under Biden, a potential 2024 race game changer.
And now a special report on a political ad that is shaking up the 2024 presidential race. Former President Donald Trump has just released a powerful new campaign video. It's going viral, and it's sure to have the Biden administration in full damage control mode. The ad, titled "Are You Better Off Than You Were 4 Years Ago?" It features a compilation of news clips and testimonials from everyday Americans, all pointing to one inescapable conclusion. The Biden economy is a disaster, and the country is crying out for change. With an eerie echo of Ronald Reagan's famous 1980 campaign line, Trump adds it cuts to the heart of the economic pain Americans are feeling and positions him as a candidate who can turn it around. I've got a lot to say about this game-changing ad, and you don't want to miss my final thoughts, so stay tuned. Now, folks, before we dive into the details of Trump's powerful new ad, let me draw your attention to a critical issue. Just like how Biden's failed policies are hurting everyday Americans, cyber criminals and data mining companies, well, they are constantly threatening our online privacy. That's why I use Virtual Shield to protect my personal information with military-grade encryption. Anonymous browsing and unlimited bandwidth. Virtual Shield is like a digital Secret Service agent that keeps my online activity safe from prying eyes. It's quick, it's easy, and it's affordable. Just visit hidewithgary.com or click the link below and get up to 67% off and a 60-day risk-free trial. Don't let cyber criminals steal your data like Biden is stealing your prosperity. Protect yourself with Virtual Shield today. Now, Donald Trump's new campaign ad, "Are You Better Off Than You Were 4 Years Ago?" Well, it's a masterclass in political messaging. The 90-second video, which has been viewed millions of times since its release, features a montage of news clips and interviews with ordinary Americans, all of whom express deep frustration and disappointment with the state of our economy under President Joe Biden, and opens up with a series of man-on-the-street interviews where people from all walks of life share their stories of economic hardship. "I'm working 5 times harder, and when I calculate everything hours worked to the amount of money bringing in, it's nowhere near as high as it was," says one man. Another says, "No, I'm not better off." These personal testimonials put a human face on the economic statistics and drive home the real-world impact of Biden's failed policies. The ad continues. It presents a barrage of polling data and news clips that paint a grim picture of the Biden economy. According to one poll, just 31% of Americans approve of how Biden is handling the economy, while staggering 56% disapprove. Another poll shows that 16% of Americans say they're better off financially since Biden took office, while 40% say they're worse off. The most negative response to this question in nearly 40 years. See for yourself.
Are you better off now than you were in January of 2021?
No, I'm not. I mean, that's me being honest. I'm working 5 times harder. When I calculate everything, hours worked to amount of money bringing in is nowhere near as high as it was.
Just 31% of Americans approve of how Biden is handling this economy, 56% disapprove, and this is interesting. Just 13% of Americans say they've gotten better financially since the president took office.
Our latest ABC News poll shows 4 in 10 Americans say they're worse off than when you were elected. Only 16% said they were better off.
More than half of the country disapproves of Biden's job performance, weighed down by significant discontent over the economy. 40% say they are worse off financially than they were 2 years ago. The most negative response to that question in nearly 40 years of our polling.
What do you say to the 44% of Americans who say they are worse off now than they were before Biden took office?
An exclusive News Nation Decision Desk headquarters poll out this morning reveals almost every American, a staggering 97%, is somewhat or very concerned about soaring prices.
The one thing I can't believe is that on my previous job, I got paid $5 less an hour. than I do on this one, and I was better off at that time than I am right now.
So, what's behind this widespread economic misery? Well, the ad points the finger squarely at the radical left-wing agenda of the Biden administration. Since taking office, Biden has pursued a reckless course of massive government spending, funded by borrowing and printing money. This flood of excess cash has caused inflation to skyrocket to 40-year high, with prices of everyday goods and services rising faster than wages. At the same time, Biden's anti-business regulations and his proposed tax hikes have created an environment of uncertainty and fear, discouraging investment and job creation. The result is an economy that is sputtering along with sluggish job growth and many Americans still unable to find work or forced to settle for lower-paying positions. Perhaps the most powerful moment in the ad comes when someone says, "The one thing I can't believe is that my previous job, I got paid $5 less an hour than I'm doing this one, and I was better off at that time than I am right now." This heartbreaking statement encapsulates the despair and frustration that so many Americans are feeling under the Biden economy. So as the 2024 campaign heats up, Trump's ad is sure to be a major talking point. By adapting Ronald Reagan's famous campaign question to the current moment, Trump has created a powerful narrative that resonates with voters who are hungry for change. The ad's viral success suggests that this message is striking a chord with Americans who feel left behind by Biden's administration and his policies. And of course, the Democrats and their allies in the mainstream media will try to dismiss the ad as mere political theater. They'll accuse Trump of cherry-picking data and exaggerating the extent of the economic challenges facing the country, but the truth is the numbers don't lie. Under Biden's leadership, the economy is struggling, and Americans are paying the price. The ad follows a series of other viral hits, such as last month's titled, "It's Been a Tough Few Days for Joe Biden." Watch this one.
Tremendous amount of things you can cut. Let me be precise. Tremendous amount of things you can do, not cut. Not long ago, my buddy John McCain passed away. My predecessor, friend, that's how he ended his career. And what they're going to do is to ensure really endanger our national security. They're going to expend, you have to look.
Pennsylvania, I have a message for you. Send me to Congress that I can support this right.
Family for those farms and their children. They have children to instigate the.
Wow. So as we head into the 2024 election, voters will have a clear choice. They can stick with the failed policies of the Biden administration and watch as their economic prospects continue to decline, or they can embrace the vision of change and prosperity offered by Donald Trump and the Republican Party. If Trump's new ad is any indication, that choice is becoming increasingly clear for millions of Americans. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. Now, Donald Trump's new campaign ad is more than just a political hit job. It's a wake-up call for the American electorate, a powerful reminder that elections have consequences and that the choices we make at the ballot box can have a profound impact on our economic well-being. By asking the simple yet penetrating question, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Trump has forced us to confront the harsh reality of life under the Biden administration. For too many Americans, the answer is a resounding no. They're working harder than ever, but falling further behind. They're watching as their hard-earned dollars buy less and less as inflation eats away at their savings and their dreams. This is the legacy of Joe Biden and the Democrats. It's a legacy that we cannot afford to embrace. In 2024, we have a chance to chart a new course and put America on the path to prosperity and greatness under the leadership of President Donald Trump. So let's seize that chance before it's too late. Next up, Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton dispelled divorce rumors, affirming their strong bond is simply gossip. The truth is the truth. Angie has more.
As music industry heavyweights, Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton have hit back at divorce rumors. In a recent interview, Stefani dismissed such speculation as mere lies while sharing the couple's steadfast love for one another. Their bond remains strong, unaffected by the drama generated by rampant gossip. To the contrary, their relationship is grounded in a deep mutual understanding and shared values. They don't yield to lies, but rather face them on. Stephanie emphasized the truth is the truth, and we know what it is. Don't miss Gary's new ebook, The Silent Coup, link in the bio. Coming up, Trump's surprise Chick-fil-A visit in Atlanta sparks excitement and debate, ordering 30 milkshakes and tackling hot-button issues.
Get ready to feast your eyes in a story that's sure to ruffle some feathers. Former President Donald Trump's surprise visit to Chick-fil-A has left the nation's political landscape more battered and fried than a 12-piece bucket. With a whopping order of 30 milkshakes, Trump proved he's still the top rooster in the Republican henhouse. But as the left cries foul, we'll peel back the layers of this crispy controversy and reveal the juicy details the mainstream media won't touch with a 10-foot drumstick. From Arizona's sizzling abortion ruling to the eggflation crisis that's leaving Americans scrambling, we'll leave no wing unturned. So stick around for this special report because you don't want to miss my final thought that's sure to be the gravy on top of this finger-licking story. So don't chicken out now. Keep watching. Now, folks, before we dive into this juicy story, a quick word from our sponsor who keeps us frying high. Just like how Trump's visit to Chick-fil-A has left the nation buzzing, your power bills are leaving your wallet fried and crispy. With a shocking 20 million households struggling to keep the lights on, it's time to flip the script on those greedy utility companies. That's where this amazing little device comes in. It's like the secret 11 herbs and spices for your electricity bill. Plug it in and watch your energy usage drop faster than a drumstick at a picnic. Don't let these power companies leave you feeling like a plucked chicken. Visit don'twastepower.com right now for your 60-day risk-free trial and 65% off. That's don'twastepower.com, the recipe for lower bills. Now, in a finger-licking turn of events, former President Donald Trump turned heads and taste buds when he made a surprise pit stop at the Vine City Chick-fil-A in Atlanta. The visit, which came just before a scheduled fundraiser, had supporters flocking like hungry hens to catch a glimpse of the man who's still ruling the roost of the Republican Party. Now, Trump, known for his love of fast food and his uncanny ability to generate buzz, didn't disappoint. In a move that's left restaurants and staff scrambling, the former president placed a jaw-dropping order of 30 milkshakes. That's right, folks, 30 creamy, dreamy shakes, all shaken up and ready to be savored by the masses. But Trump's visit wasn't just about satisfying a sweet tooth. As he mingled with the crowd, the former president took the opportunity to praise Chick-fil-A, calling it a great American franchise and even going so far as to declare it the Lord's chicken. Now, I don't know about you, but when a man like Trump bestows a heavenly title upon a crispy chicken sandwich, you know it's got to be good. Take a look.
Look at the way you hold. You like each other, right? I think that's very nice. Have a good time. Nice to see you. Thank you very much. So we'll order 30 milkshakes. We'll give them out to the people, and we'll take some for ourselves, okay? Good. Thank you very much, everybody. Hello.
This has got a great American franchise, Chick-fil-A.
It is. It's a great franchise. The owner is a great man who's a member of one of my clubs, and he's fantastic. And, yeah, they do very well. They're closed on Sunday.
The Lord's Chicken.
That's the Lord's Chicken. You're right. It's good chicken, too.
Yeah, good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Get ready for a milkshake. You got plenty of them.
All right.
You got these good-looking guys. Huh?
This is an original from 2016.
Oh, I love this guy. I like that guy. Do you have a pen for me? Give me a good pen. That is the original, huh?
From 2016, Cleveland.
You've been there from the beginning.
Absolutely. From the invention.
You knew what was happening.
Absolutely.
You got it. That's cool, man. What's your name?
Lawrence.
Okay, Lawrence, let me get this pen out of here. Come here. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Really nice.
It's a pleasure. Yes, sir.
He understood long before the rest, right?
Mr. Trump, Shelley Winter. I talked to you
Oh,
yesterday.
good. You are fantastic.
Thank you, brother.
You know Shelley?
Yes.
A great host. And are you guys
Radio
friends
show.
or
No,
something?
just via Sanjay.
Well, that's nice because he's been there a long time too.
Yes.
I think right from the beginning.
Right from the beginning.
We did a radio interview with Shelley yesterday, and I appreciated it.
I appreciate you very much.
I hung up. I said, "What a nice guy that is."
And I'll bring in my clubs tomorrow long.
You let me know. I'm telling you. You let me know,
Thank
Shelley.
you, brother. Thank you. God
Please
bless you.
watch his show. His show is great. Listen to his show.
Absolutely, 95.5.
He got it.
Yeah.
You two guys got it. Huh?
And all these kids do too.
I think so. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. So you're getting lots of milkshakes. Look at that handsome guy. I wish I had like him.
Right here?
Oh
yeah, me.
Hi, fellas. Thank you. Nice to see you. Nice to see everybody.
How you doing, Trump?
I'm doing good.
I love you, man.
How are you? I'm well. Everybody having a good time?
Of course, not everyone was thrilled about Trump's impromptu fast food stop. The left, always eager to cry foul, wasted no time in trying to paint the visit as a distraction from the real issues facing the nation. But as the old saying goes, sometimes you've got to let the haters hate and the chickens cluck. And speaking of issues, Trump didn't shy away from addressing some of the hot-button topics currently gripping the nation. When asked about Arizona's recent abortion ruling, the former president acknowledged that the state may have gone too far, but emphasized the importance of states' rights in determining such policies. He also expressed confidence that the governor and other officials would work to bring the situation back into the realm of reason. But it didn't stop there. He also took aim at the Biden administration's handling of inflation, which he described as raging back and out of control. Citing the latest numbers, Trump argued that the actual inflation rate is much higher than what's being reported, thanks to the exclusion of certain categories. It's a sentiment that resonates with many Americans who are feeling the pinch of rising prices at every turn. Take a look.
Too far? Did Arizona go too far?
Yeah, they did, and that'll be straightened out. And as you know, it's all about states' rights. That'll be straightened out. And I'm sure that the governor and everybody else are going to bring it back into reason, and that will be taken care of, I think, very quickly.
What do you think about Florida?
Florida's probably maybe going to change also. See, it's all of what it's the will of the people. This is what I've been saying. It's a perfect system. So for 52 years, people have wanted to end Roe v. Wade to get it back to the states. We did that. It was an incredible thing, an incredible achievement. We did that, and now the states have it, and the states are putting out what they want. It's the will of the people. So Florida's probably going to change. Arizona's going to definitely change. Everybody wants that to happen. And you're getting the will of the people. It's been pretty amazing when you think.
New inflation numbers came out this morning showing inflation going up more than what economists were expecting. Do you believe there's any chance inflation gets under control between now and November?
Biden has totally lost control of inflation. It's back. It's raging back. The number today was very high, very bad. It's actually much higher because they exclude various categories. It's actually much higher than that. The number is out of control. Biden has no idea what the hell he's doing. He's the worst president in the history of our country. And I have something, but I have some good news. Where's Brian Jack? This is a man I've known for a long time. He's running in Georgia 3. He's going to be a fantastic congressman. District 3, Brian Jack. Very simple name. Don't put him around. You can do it either way, Jack Bryan or Brian Jack. He's a great guy. He's been with me for 7 years, and he's always wanted to run for Congress, and this is where he was born, where he grew up. He knows it well. He loves the people. He will be fantastic. You know who Brian is? You do now.
Let's talk money.
Oh, there's another Brian.
Let's talk about
Well, I think that case has been totally discredited. It was a money-making scheme on behalf of her and her lover, Wade, Mr. and Mrs. Wade. And I think the case has been totally discredited, I would hope. It seems to be. And we'll see how that, and the one in New York is totally discredited. Every legal scholar said they have no case. It's a horrible thing, but it's election interference. It's all run by the White House. Every one of the cases that you mentioned, as an example, Fannie Wade, every single case is being run. Civil, criminal, it's election interference because Joe Biden can't put two sentences together. He can't find the stairs off the stage. Joe Biden is using this to try and get elected, and it's a shame. And so far, it's backfiring, as you know, because we just had polls come out, and frankly, they're the best polls I've ever had. This is a disgraceful thing. This is for a third world country, but that's what it is. That's what we have to put up. It's all coming out of the DOJ. A thing like this has never happened before. They're trying to protect the man who's grossly incompetent and the worst president in the history of our country.
Campaign money. How would you say? Hold on. How about campaign money? He's already talked to board. How about money? Campaign money. The RNC has been trailing Democrats in campaign fundraising. You're here in Georgia to raise money. Are you going to be able to catch up to Democrats when it comes to campaign tax?
Well, I'm not working very hard at it. The the night, which is an all-time record, I do believe. I think they did 24, and we did 52, and we did it very easily. I didn't need 3 presidents. I did it myself. I didn't need so-called stars. We did it ourselves. The Republican Party has a lot of money coming into it. It's coming in small donations, $61 average. We did some large donors the other night. We broke the all-time record, $52 million. We don't need the money that did. If you remember Hillary Clinton, I had about 1/3 the money that she had, and who won? I'm not exactly sure who won. So we don't need the same kind of money that they need. They need more money because they take care of more politicians. They hand it out like it's gravy. And you know, when you look at what they did with Zuckerbucks and with the lock boxes and everything else, it's really a disgrace. We don't need nearly the money that they need. In Florida, as an example, I put up a very small amount of money. They put $300 million into Florida. I put peanuts into Florida, and I won by 2 million votes. So we don't need the same money that they need. Plus, I had a great 4 years, and Biden has one of the worst presidencies in history, destroying our country. Between Israel and October 7th, that should have never happened. Ukraine and Russia should have never, ever happened. That was something, Russia would have never attacked Ukraine if I were president. The inflation is...
Now, as the 2024 election looms on the horizon, Trump's Atlanta appearance also served as a reminder of his enduring popularity among his base. Supporters lined up to catch a glimpse of the former president, some even brandishing memorabilia from his 2016 campaign. One in particular caught Trump's attention with an original 2016 hat, prompting the former president to express his appreciation for his longtime support. And Trump's visit to Chick-fil-A wasn't just a moment of fast food indulgence. It was a snapshot of the deep divisions that continue to shape American politics. While supporters cheered and clamored for a chance to be near their beloved leader, critics were quick to dismiss the appearance as a sideshow, a distraction from the pressing issue at hand. But love him or hate him, there is no denying that Donald Trump knows how to command attention. His surprise appearance at the Atlanta Chick-fil-A sent shockwaves through the political landscape, leaving pundits and commentators scrambling to make sense of it all. Some saw it as a calculated move to connect with everyday Americans, while others viewed it as a cheap political stunt. Now, regardless of one's political leanings, there's no denying the power of a well-timed fast food stop. In a world where every move is scrutinized and every statement dissected, sometimes it's the simple things like a milkshake and a chicken sandwich that manage to cut through the noise and capture the public's imagination. So as the dust settles on Trump's Chick-fil-A visit in Atlanta, one thing remains clear: the former president's ability to generate buzz and grab headlines remains as strong as ever. Whether he's praising the Lord's chicken or taking aim at his political opponents, Trump knows how to keep himself at the center of the conversation. So as we look ahead to 2024 and beyond, it's worth remembering that sometimes the most significant political moments happen not in the halls of power, but in the most unexpected of places, like a fast food restaurant in the heart of Atlanta. And if there's one thing that we can all agree on, it's that a good milkshake has the power to bring people together, even if only for a fleeting moment. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. It's time for my final thought. Now, folks, his Chick-fil-A visit wasn't just a fast food pit stop. It was a declaration that he's still the top rooster in the Republican henhouse. While the left cries foul play, Trump's ability to connect with everyday Americans is a secret recipe that Democrats can't replicate. In a world where politics feels like a game of chicken, Trump's milkshake moment reminds us that sometimes the best way to reach people is through their stomachs. By praising the Lord's chicken and shaking things up, Trump proves he's not afraid to ruffle feathers. This story's got all the fixings of a classic American tale: drama, intrigue, and a heaping helping of crispy controversy. So as we look to 2024, it's clear that Trump isn't content on just winging it. He's coming out swinging, armed with bold ideas and unapologetic swagger. So buckle up, America, because the 2024 race is shaping up to be a wild ride. With Trump back in the spotlight and ready to ruffle feathers, it's anyone's guess who'll end up ruling the roost. One thing's for sure, it's going to be finger-licking good. Next up, Zendaya opens up to Vogue about fame's impact from childhood, learning to set boundaries for personal well-being. Angie has more.
Actress and former child star Zendaya recently did an out-in-the-open discussion with Vogue about the toll of fame on young kids. Successfully earning a living for her family from the tender age of 13, she quickly grew up ahead of her time. Looking back, she acknowledges that her childhood lacked the usual teenage experiences. Today, she battles the pressures of fame, which hinders her from fully relishing her achievements. Zendaya, however, now recognizes the need for boundaries. She has learned that she can graciously decline requests when she needs a day off. Reflecting on her journey, she hopes for a future void of the incessant pressure to please at the expense of her personal life. Don't miss Gary's new ebook, The Silent Coup, link in our bio. Next, Gary will reveal chilling parallels between today's market frenzy and the dot-com bubble, questioning Wall Street's stability.
Brace yourselves for a jaw-dropping expose that will shatter your trust in the stock market. In this groundbreaking special report, we rip open the curtain on Wall Street's seedy underbelly, revealing the shocking truth about the Nasdaq's sordid past and the impending danger lurking in today's market. With Cathie Wood's audacious $2,000 price target for Tesla sending shockwaves through the financial world, well, we're going to draw some alarming parallels to the notorious dot-com era. As the ghost of the dot-com bubble rears its ugly head, the question on everyone's mind is, are we doomed to repeat history's mistakes? We will leave no stone unturned unmasking the corrupt practices of the Wall Street analysts and their role in leading investors to ruin. You won't believe what we uncover, so stay tuned for a mind-blowing final thought that will change the way you view the market forever. Now, folks, are you tired of being left in the dark while Wall Street analysts line their pockets? Well, it's time to take control of your financial future with Noble Gold Investments. Just like how analysts pimped out lemon companies during dot-com era, today's market is full of uncertainty, but with Noble Gold Investments, you can protect your wealth by diversifying into gold and silver. Don't just take my word for it. Countless, thousands literally, of satisfied customers have left them 5-star reviews and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. And now, for a limited time, Noble Gold Investments is giving away a free quarter-ounce British Gold Standard coin for qualified accounts. Visit nextnewsgold.com or call that number on the screen, 877-646-5347, and tell them that Next News sent you. Now, in a shocking revelation, the ghosts of the dot-com era seem to be resurfacing in today's tumultuous market. As investors nervously watch the erratic fluctuations of the Nasdaq, one can't help but draw unsettling parallels to the catastrophic bubble that burst in the late 90s. The Nasdaq, once a symbol of innovation and progress, now stands as a haunting reminder of the dangers of unchecked optimism and rampant speculation. Now, at the center of this brewing storm is Cathie Wood, the enigmatic CEO and Chief Investment Officer of ARK Investment Management. With a brazen price target of $2,000 on Tesla, Wood has positioned herself as a modern-day equivalent of Henry Blodgett and Jack Rubman, the infamous analysts who played the pivotal role fueling the dot-com frenzy. Now, her unwavering faith in Tesla, despite the company's staggering $300 billion market plunge since June of last year, has raised eyebrows and sparked heated debates among market experts. Take a look at this.
Just think about this. Tesla's doing it profitably and cutting prices in the process. It's pretty phenomenal. Can I just go the convergence idea? I have one more. Robots, energy storage, they will be electric, 75, 85% in 5 years. And then artificial intelligence. This is the biggest AI project in the world. If NVIDIA is worth what it's worth, and we believe it's worth what the market's paying for. We think it's going to have an inventory correction out there. It happens regularly. Okay. You know, we've been through very many inventory cycles. Right. I have over the years with NVIDIA. So definitely going to see an inventory cycle as companies reassess, okay, wait, how do we get ready for this AI age? And there is a reassessment process. We're going through it ourselves. But if NVIDIA is, if its valuation is correct, this AI project has to work.
What is Tesla worth? If you were willing to sell it at $300 or $400 and you're buying it now, what is it worth in 5 years?
$2,000. We're in print on that.
$2,000.
Yes.
Let me ask you another.
Think about that. It's down 60%. This reminds me very much of 2018-19. We're in a bit of a trading range, and we will be until more and more analysts, investors understand how provocative the convergence of these three technologies is going to be.
Now, Wood's price target, which stands at a staggering $1,800 away from the average analyst prediction seems to be driven by blind faith more than sound financial analysts. As Tesla's stock continues to experience turbulent swings, one can't help but question the wisdom of placing such a high valuation on a company that operates in an increasingly competitive and volatile market. But the concerns surrounding Tesla and Cathie Wood are just the tip of the iceberg. The Nasdaq once again finds itself at the center of a potential market meltdown. Its checkered past, marred by instances of price fixing and the promotion of hollow companies, has done little to instill confidence in investors. The exchange seems to have learned little from its past mistakes, as evidenced by the continued presence of companies like Trump Media and Technology Group, a startup with a market cap of $5.5 billion and a paltry $4.13 million in revenues. However, its explosive growth and its explosion on the scene is still a force to be reckoned with. Now, the parallels to the dot-com era are indeed striking. Just as in the late 1990s, we see a market driven by hype, speculation, and the promise of astronomical returns. Analysts once again find themselves in the role of cheerleaders, promoting companies with questionable fundamentals and little regard for the long-term consequences. And the allure of quick profits and the fear of missing out on the next big thing have created a dangerous cocktail that threatens to intoxicate even the most seasoned investors. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of the unfolding saga is the role of Wall Street analysts in perpetuating the cycle of destruction. These so-called experts, who are meant to provide unbiased and accurate assessments of companies, have instead become nothing more than glorified salesmen. They pimp out lemon companies as hot IPOs, all while privately disparaging them as dogs and crap. The very same institutions that were meant to be the gatekeepers of financial integrity have become the architects of its own downfall. So as we stand on the precipice of another potential market catastrophe, it's imperative that we heed the lessons of the past. We can't allow ourselves to be swept up in the euphoria of the moment, blinded by the promise of easy money and the allure of the next big thing. We must demand transparency, accountability, and integrity from the institutions that shape our financial landscape. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. The echoes of the dot-com era serve as a chilling reminder of the dangers that lurk beneath the surface of our market. As we witness the resurrection of the same reckless optimism and speculative frenzy that brought the Nasdaq to its knees, we must ask ourselves, have we truly learned from our past mistakes? The unchecked power of Wall Street analysts, the blind faith in companies with questionable fundamentals, and the insatiable appetite for quick profits all point to a market that is once again teetering on the edge of disaster. But amidst the chaos, there is a glimmer of hope. By arming ourselves with knowledge, demanding accountability, and approaching the market with a healthy dose of skepticism, we can navigate these treacherous waters and emerge stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The future of our financial landscape depends on it. That's all the news I've got for you tonight. Now let's hear what you had to say in the comment section. Tonight in the comment section, we're diving headfirst into your reactions to our latest piece. Unhinged Weather Channel reporter screams maniacally, loses mind during eclipse totality. And let me tell you, folks, your comments are spot on as always. Soachi Warrior starts off with an observation that's both bizarre and oddly fitting for the times. Whoopee! Cicadas come every 2 years. Where I live, you have to be careful because they will fall out of the trees on you. Yes, cicadas, those harbingers of the cyclical and the mundane, seemingly more predictable and less dramatic than the theatrics we've seen on screen. It's a world turned upside down when an insect's life cycle is less of a spectacle than a weather report. What's next? Breaking news segment on the migration patterns of geese. Then we have Adis, I guess. Well, it gives us a dose of transatlantic wisdom. My God, America, what have they done to you? They are turning your country into the biggest loony bin in the universe. Where is the Lone Ranger when you need him most? Regards from across the pond. Indeed, what have they done to us? It's like every day brings a new chapter in the book of absurdity. So thank you for your perspective check. Maybe it's time we start asking where indeed the Lone Ranger is, because it feels like we could all use a hero. And then Billy Bardo doesn't pull any punches. If being named after a fart toy isn't bad enough, Whoopi has the IQ of a houseplant. Yes, the brutal honesty of the internet. We're navigating through the thicket of noise, trying to find voices of reason. Instead, we're met with this. It's not just a commentary on the person, but it's also the state of public discourse. Are we really engaging with the best among us, or are we letting the conversation be dominated by the lowest common denominator? And then Rebel Bat Dave hits us with a reality check. A lot of hype for nothing, just like Y2K, stupid sheeple. Yes, remember Y2K? The world was going to end because of a computer bug, and yet here we are 2 decades later, working ourselves into a frenzy over nature doing what nature does. The sun eclipses, the moon orbits, and somehow it's as if we've learned nothing from our past panics. It's a cycle of hype and a testament to our collective amnesia. And lastly, we have Chadwick Davis, who sums it up perfectly. These people are just insane. Well, there's not much more to add, is there? When you strip away the pretense, the pomp, the pageantry, what are we left with? A spectacle of insanity broadcast live for all to see. It's not just about the eclipse or the weather, it's about what we're becoming as a society. So are we okay with this? Is this the new normal? Folks, your comments tonight are a beacon of sanity in a world that seems to have lost its way, and you're not just passively consuming the madness, you're questioning it, challenging it, and calling it out. And that's exactly what we need more of. So here on N3 Primetime, we are not just reporting the news, we're questioning the narrative alongside viewers just like you. Now on N3 Primetime, we turn our gaze towards a familiar face in Washington, a figure who's no stranger to the spotlight or controversy, Congresswoman Maxine Waters. In recent comments, she positioned herself as a target of racist attacks, not based on explicit statements, but rather on criticism of her opinions and policies. Her logic? If you're critical of her, it's not about policy, it's about race. Take a look.
As a member of Congress with people, who evidently had a racist attitude, and recently one even confronted me in a restaurant. And they don't say racist things, but what they say is they don't like something I said. They don't like a position that I took. But that, if you were not Black, you would not be approached that way.
They probably would not. They would think twice about doing it. They think that they can get away with doing it with you, and that you're.
If I recall, didn't she encourage that very behavior when it came to Republicans? You got to push back on them if you see them in a restaurant, right? Anyway, let's break this down. Criticism in our republic, that is America, it's as foundational as the Constitution itself. It's the very lifeblood of our political discourse. Yet, according to Congresswoman Waters, any critique leveled against her is not a matter of political disagreement, but an act of racism. This is, to put it mildly, a staggering leap. It undermines the serious and real issues of racism and suggests that political criticism equates to racial prejudice. Now, the implications here are troubling. It suggests a move towards a discourse where genuine critique is silenced under the threat of being labeled as something that it is not. It's an attempt to fortify oneself against all criticism, a move that doesn't just border on absurd, it firmly plants itself there. So why does this matter to you, the American people? Because it's an attack on the very principle of free speech and open dialogue that our republic stands on. It matters because in a nation where policy and governance impact every aspect of our lives, the ability to question, to challenge, and to hold our elected officials accountable is paramount. Whether you are red or blue or any color of the rainbow, the right to disagree, to voice that disagreement, is a cornerstone of our system. So this isn't just about a congresswoman. It's about preserving a public square where ideas, even unpopular ones, can be expressed without fear of being unjustly labeled. It's about ensuring that the real vital fight against racism isn't diluted by its misuse as a shield against criticism. It's about making sure that in this great republic, dialogue remains open, free, and unfettered by baseless accusations. In a nation as diverse in thought as it is in people, the ability to speak freely, to disagree respectfully, is what moves us forward. Let's not forget that. Let's ensure that our discourse remains robust, our debates vigorous, and our republic strong. All right, folks, let's wrap things up. Tonight, we peel back the layers on a slew of stories that hit right at the heart of what's happening in our country. From the undeniable bias of Politifact to NPR's departure from fair reporting, it's clear that the truth is under siege. And it's not just in the media. We looked at the economic smoke and mirrors being sold to us, contrasting sharply with the reality of everyday Americans. In Trump's campaign ad and his legendary Chick-fil-A run, well, they're not just political theater, they are snapshots of a nation deeply divided, yearning for a return to a sense of normalcy, prosperity, and yes, unity with a milkshake. So here's the takeaway. These stories matter because they are about us. They're about our struggles, about our voices being silenced, and our nation's future that's hanging in the balance. But here's the good news, folks. We are on it day in and day out. We're fighting to bring you the truth, to shine a light in the darkness, and to give you the information you need to make up your own minds. Because at the end of the day, this is your country. These are your stories, and you deserve nothing less than the whole truth. So that's a wrap for tonight, folks. A big thank you to Angie for those insightful news briefs, and to you, our viewers, and for tuning in the live chat, keeping it lively. It's your engagement and your support that breathe life into our work. And tonight we've journeyed through the thick and thin of what's truly at stake in our nation. But as we close, let's not forget the reality that we all face together. This channel, your bastion of truth, is, in a sea of noise, is at a critical juncture. Over a decade, we've stood firm against the storm, but now the winds are picking up, threatening to silence us for good. I'm not kidding. The truth is, our survival's never been more in jeopardy. Yet, it's the challenges that unite us, the trials that test our resolve. And it's here in these moments of uncertainty that we turn to you. Our mission to cut through the fog, to bring clarity where there's confusion, has never needed you more. So we're not just asking for help. We are calling on fellow patriots to stand with us in this fight, whether through a donation, a prayer, or simply sharing our message on your favorite social networks. Your support is the shield that protects the truth. We're here to challenge the narratives that aim to divide us, to preserve the legacy of freedom and truth for which this country stands, and with your help, we can continue to be a beacon for those seeking clarity in the chaos. So as we part ways tonight, remember, the fight for the soul of America is ongoing. Your action, your voice can tip the scales, so check the links below to find out how you can join us in this critical moment. So thank you, truly, for being a part of our journey. For the America we cherish, let's keep the flame of truth alive. Good night, and God bless.